Hi everyone, I'm Sophie and I'm currently at Kencana Forest Retreat, Bentong, Malaysia. And today it will be a very short sharing again from my Guru's blog, His Eminence the 25th Sam Tuko Rinpoche. It is actually a question posed by a reader who, and Rinpoche was answering the question. And so this blog post is on Rinpoche's questions. Thank you. So the title is Good Question by Sam Rinpoche. Another interesting and heartfelt question from my blog on the public question board I thought I'd share. Dear Rinpoche, if I persevere diligently in my practices to purify negative karma and accumulate merit, and yet I cannot eliminate one bit of suffering in this life, what quantum leap of faith must I then muster to believe that I can save myself in future lives through continuing the same practices? If one cannot eliminate pain and suffering from illnesses, poverty, emotional trauma, etc. in this life, how can one still cling to any hope in the Dharma for the unknown, unseen, untold number of future lives? Posted by Irene. So Rinpoche replies, Dear Irene, yes, let me go to a picture to share with you before I proceed. There you go. Yeah. Dear Irene, I understand your questions and thank you for it. Your fundamental perception of the purpose of practice must change. The more you practice, the more you should develop the mind to take on the sufferings of all sentient beings and not just yourself. The results of practice is not running away from sufferings or avoidance of it, but the acceptance of it and for the sake of all others. If you use practice or religion to gain happiness or material gains or personal peace, then the fundamental motivation would be wrong and hence would not produce the desired results quickly. Read the Lamrim. Important. 1. The more you practice purification and the more problems arise or the same problems arise is a very good sign. An excellent sign indeed. Why? Because the karma is coming out and you are experiencing it now. I give you an example. If you have to lose a handphone, is it better to lose it in the middle of the city during daylight or to lose it at midnight in a dark and lonely forest where you are alone? Losing the phone is the same, but the environmental situation can dramatically alter the situation and how much more sufferings it entails. It is much better to suffer out the karma here and now. Be grateful for that. The environment now is better to experience the karma. As Trijang Rinpoche says, we suffer nothing that the cause was not created by ourselves. 2. Along with your practice is to read, watch teachings, and learn up more on the very purpose of Buddhistic practice. Learn up more on Dharma is very important for you and everyone. Suffering is ever present in every sector of samsara, and as long as you are here without control, you have to expect it. Feel lucky you can recognize it and have an opportunity to do something about it with perseverance patiently. The karmas can take more than one lifetime to purify, but because we have had thousands of hundreds of thousands of lifetimes for sure. 3. Once you reach certain stages in meditation, you can perceive former lives and what you did, and the karma that was accumulated for what you are experiencing now. Until then, the Buddha would never lie or be mistaken. The mountains may be destroyed, the great trees die, and the oceans may dry up, but the perfect Tathagata can never be wrong. all causes for his lack of perfect perception has been eliminated. So trust the Buddha and take refuge in him by relying on the path he took. 4. Meditating on the problems of people in poverty-stricken countries, or with horrible incurable diseases, or people who are born to be hurt, beaten, killed. Meditate on others' problems and how immense it is, and ask their problems to come to you, and you may suffer it for them. Develop that type of mind. That type of mind would be powerful to purify karma faster. The mind that practices for others is the correct mind of practice. That would gain results. Please read Milarepa's biography. Whatever methods you have engaged in before Dharma didn't work. So, if you do Dharma and long term it will work. Add satrap to your practice. You will be fine in the end. You see. I wish you well sincerely from my heart, from my soul, from my being. May your sufferings and wrong perceptions come to me, please. May it be so. I wish you well and continue without expectations of material or personal results. Practice with results that you can do more for others. All sufferings of this life is just to be continued into future lives, as they were carried to the present from the past, if left unpurified and unchecked. Sam Rinpoche. And that's the sharing by Rinpoche. And as the question goes, that's, I think all of us would have felt it one time or another, that no matter how much we practice, we think that we have practiced, and yet we still feel stuck in this doldrum, that nothing seems to have changed, but instead more troubles or sufferings has come to us. And as such, the question will arise whether, how effective Dharma could help us. And as Rinpoche explained, that one of the reasons that all this arises is because we are experiencing the karma arising, and if we were to be able to overcome it and let it pass, then we would have purified that karma. So it is a good thing that all this suffering arises, because as Rinpoche said, that if the suffering arises in, well, it really depends on the condition when the suffering arises or the karma arises, because as Rinpoche said, whether you lose the handphone in a city and you still have access to making calls, because you're in the city and there's help, available, as compared to losing it in a forest where, without the handphone, then you can't get any help at all. So it is the conditions in which the suffering arise. It's just like if you get sick, in the middle of the city, and you're able to have access to hospitals and doctors and treatments. Whereas if you're in the jungle and you get sick, then you have no access at all. So it's the different conditions where, the Dharma helps you to clear your karma in better conditions. So be grateful that actually you're in Dharma. And also, as Rinpoche said, that you do the practice, the real practice is to practice the Dharma for others. Think out, so that when you think out and you meditate on other people's suffering, especially, those like poverty-stricken, or those people who really, really just live in suffering all the time, then you realize, how much less important your own suffering is. So that is why we practice the Dharma, so that we are able to have compassion for others, and the real practice is to take on their suffering, that they do not have to suffer. So thank you for sharing your time with me. And as usual, we go to a completion dedication, and we'll do it in Tibetan. Jangyup Sencho Rinpoche, Maki Panam Geishi, Ke Panam Pame Payang, Goni Gondo Pewashu, Tony Toa Rinpoche, Maki Panam Geishi, Ke Panam Pame Payang, Goni Gondo Pewashu, Dasojini Sapage Wadi, Tandandroa Guna Kuna, Kampadang, Jepa Jesu no Santrapai, Tamping Imporindu Sa Se Sho, Kewa Kuntuyana Lamadan, Drami Choki Pana Lochoche, Sadam Nangi Yaterazone, Doji Changi Ngopangotuso, Gewadi Nyududa Lama Sangyo Druyone, Drowa Chikia Malupa, Dei Sala Gopasho, Choki Kaposungapa, Chosunampa Pewala, Geti Samasiwada, Dunki Malu Sawasho, Dadam Sengyo Dosanda, Drewe Songi Latene, Gewa Losantrapai, Tampayo Riva, Gyushi, Nimo Dele Sendele, Nime Gunyandele Shi, Nisintatu Dele Pel, Concho Sungi Jingilo, Concho Sungi Ngodruso, Concho Sungi Trasi Sho, Jesu Lama Kusen Rapting Ching, Nam Katrini Chochuke Pada, Rosam Tempe Dromi Sapsungi, Droe Munsa Taktuni, Gyushi, Gangri Rawi Kowe Shinkam Den, Pendan Deo Malu Gowini, Chanren Zit One Tenzin Get Soye, Shape Shiri Varu Den, Gyushi, Home Tumpe Ngodru Malupa, Den Dala Sauduso, Kodan Dempa Long Chotnam, Kepa Sushik Shukten Cell. That's it for my sharing today, and thank you for sharing your time with me. I'll see you for the next sharing session. Thank you.